sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I live by the old code of second floor!
Why look for a scientific explanation when you can put blind trust in an invisible Sky Daddy?
Sky Daddy all the way.
Go watch your crappy sitcom! Turn up full volume, why don't you?
Aubrey, weird, I can't even get through my couch!
Dude, is that wild?
Dude, what in the world?
We don't have to put that in because that's super long, but
I don't understand that, bro. I don't understand that at all.
welcome back to Second Floor Experience, everyone. I just showed Zach a freaking 5-minute clip of Oz Pearlman on the Flagrant podcast, and he did probably like one of the most insane like mentalist things I've ever seen.
Dude, it's gotta be.
That was crazy.
I don't understand that.
Like the amount, like there, I feel like there was 3 or 4 tricks in one there. Like it was like he had a deck of cards and he had them shuffle the deck of cards, split it up into 3 random piles. Then he had another guy take out his phone, go through his contact list, pick any number, any contact he wanted.
Yeah.
And he had him read out not the area code, but the phone number without the area code, and was flipping over one of the stacks of 3 of cards, and they matched up exactly to the contact he chose. And before all of that, he had thrown $200 worth of $1 bills in the air, had one of the other guys randomly pick one up before all of that.
Yeah.
And he took out that bill and read the serial number on the bill, and it matched the phone number. And it even had the contact's initials on it too.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get that. So the contact's initials was on the dollar bill?
I think so, yeah.
Like written?
I think so, yeah. I think that's why like they freaked out even more at the end.
I mean, how would you do that?
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I can't even like begin to understand how you would pull that off.
So like this podcast was cool because he actually kind of goes into sort of like kind of like how he got into it / how he does, or I guess like broad formula for it. And he started out kind of pursuing this, like he was like 14 years old working as a waiter, I think, or working as like, working in a restaurant or whatever. And he would basically go up to people and like play a game to see like, okay, how fast can I get these people to like me, basically, or like, can I tell them everything that's on their mind, as in like, this is the special, this is how we accept payment, this is how this will work, this is, and he'll basically go through and he'll say all these different things. And that's kind of how he started getting into that mindset of it. And he started, he was doing magic as a kid. And then that is what sort of transitioned him to mentalism, to be a mentalist.
Gosh, dude, that is so crazy.
But what was cool because they talked about kind of like the industry of mentalism. Because they were asking him, they were like, well, when you see other like acts, are you able to point it out? Like what happened? And because I think they kept thinking that he was like tricking them, but a lot of what he does is like reading it. He said all of it is just like reading people, and getting them to come to a certain conclusion that he wants them to come to.
Wow.
And so he said that yes, a lot of his peers, like they can pick up on certain things, but he said a lot of them won't be able to know like what he's doing, because he'll take like, because he can do this too, he can figure out like, okay, they're using this technique and then that technique and then that technique. But he said what gets really tough is that he'll basically mix them all together. And when you mix them all together like that, he said it's really, really difficult to figure out what happened. But this was crazy. He said occasionally he'll like be scrolling through comments on like a YouTube video of his.
Yeah.
And it'll be like just some super random comment, like buried super deep, no likes. And it'll say, you did this to this person, and then you did this, and then you did that, and then you influenced this person that way. And he's like, holy crap, like this guy figured it out. Like he nailed exactly what I did in this scenario.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like there'll be a random YouTube comment that basically figured out what he did to get to that trick.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah.
He would figure out what...
They'll like point out what he did, basically. Like,
okay,
you influenced this person, you misdirected here, and then you did this. And
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like they're right? Like what is his name?
Oz.
Oz?
Yeah.
Like you said that they would be like correct?
Yeah.
Or,
and he'll be like, there's no likes on the comment, there's no replies. Like it's just like some random person just like basically figured out what he did.
That's crazy.
And then
bro.
like, the top comment will be something like, oh, he, sleight of hand this, or just some like crazy out of the top accusation of how he did it. And it has like the most likes, but it's not how he did it. I just thought that was super interesting. He said because it's a lot easier when you have a video, obviously, because you can scroll back and look and look and look. But still, I mean, to be able to know how to do all that and figure it out is pretty wild. He did say he had one person come up to him that he remembers after one of his shows who was a scientist, super smart, like very matter-of-fact type of guy, and came up to him, was like, I know how you did this one thing. And just like very matter-of-factly was like, you did this and you misdirected here, and this person and that. And Oz was like, yeah, I told him, was like, dude, like you nailed it. That's exactly what
really?
Yeah, because he's like, it didn't bother me because he said it so, he wasn't like, I got you. It was like so matter of fact. He was so locked into what was going on that his mind like couldn't be misdirected at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I thought was crazy. But and also in the podcast he said that scientists are some of the easiest people to fool, even more than dumb people. He said because he said all you have to do is just get inside the mind of a scientist, and I know how they think. They think so logically, and they have the scientific method or whatever. He's like, I know how to fool them easier because they're so they follow like a much stricter thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really fascinating. He also said that one of his most viral clips was the Joe Burrow video. He did like a video with the Bengals with the quarterback Joe Burrow, and apparently Joe Burrow's like notoriously media shy and didn't even really want to be a part of the trick at all, or the show or whatever. And so apparently it was like the really crazy story of like how he got him in the room to like actually do it. But apparently he had been planning that for 2 years. Oz had been planning like exactly what he was going to do to Joe Burrow for years.
Really?
For 2 years. Yes. And it turned like it was one of his most viral clips because he actually got a reaction to Joe Burrow, which he said not really many people do. And then they asked him, they were like, well, is there anybody else that you're like, you know what to do about? And he was like, he said, yeah, Patrick Mahomes. Like I've been thinking about it for years what I'm gonna do for Patrick Mahomes. But he also said the same thing about Joe Rogan. He was like, he said it's so much easier. Cause I know we were talking about this on the last podcast.
Yeah.
He said, it's so much easier to do this on a podcast like yours where there's 4 people. He said, it's so much more difficult to do it on like a one-on-one podcast like with Joe Rogan. And specifically, I mean, he said that it actually really, really helps to be able to talk to people beforehand and be able to kind of like read them before he gets on. And so he's like,
sure,
doing Rogan's podcast was like super difficult because there was absolutely no foreplay. It was you walk in, sit down, start recording. And so he's like, that's really all he had to go off of was
that's
that.
Crazy.
Yeah. And he was just cool because like he really broke down more of like his process and how he kind of reads people or how he like thinks about entertainment. And it was just, dude, it was super interesting. And then of course he does like, tricks throughout the actual podcast too. which
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah.
Like the black guy in the freaking clip was being so hilarious because he was like dead set on like, I'm not gonna let this guy read me. Like it was just so funny the way he was acting, and he would just do this like thing that seems so simple or whatever. He was like, yeah, just go grab a book off of the shelf, flip to a random page, and then find a word on that page. And then he would, like, without showing him, basically, without showing Oz.
Yeah.
And then he would read them the way that he does. And then he would guess, like, the book. And then he would guess the random page number. And then he would guess the word that they were thinking. It's just like...
How in the world, dude? So is it like, is he... Like, does he explain it at all to where... Is it him, like, reading mostly body language? Or...
Apparently it's legitimately... It is legitimately... I mean, it's a combination of... He said several different, like, mind techniques. But, yes, like, it's essentially him sitting across from someone. And he said the hardest thing that nobody realizes about mentalism is the memory aspect. He said because... when you're observing someone, you have to like remember their cues and what you're seeing like in real time while you're giving your sort of like your spiel.
Yeah.
Right. And like while you're also directing them towards what you want them to do.
Dude, that's so
all
wild.
at the same time. And so it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And he did say that he did study their podcast and like watch them like beforehand to kind of get an idea of them.
Yeah. It sounded like when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, it seems like he kind of goes off of like body language, and then also he would bring up like he would tell Joe, statistically, someone like you or like a males would do this and this and this and this, right? And so it seems like he kind of plays off of that a little bit too, like what people of your like stereotype, whatever, would naturally do, I guess, in like in a given situation.
Which
so
I don't know like how it seems to you, but to me when he says stuff like that, the way he says it, it almost feels like it's fluff. Like he's just saying it as like part of his bit. But I think it really is like it's just because he kind of says it like sort of showy. I'm like, is this just rehearsed almost? But I do think that it's like it really is true because he talks about in the podcast how he sort of like whittles down, or he's able to kind of like statistically whittle down what certain scenarios would be, and for like a certain word that he's trying to get someone to say or trying to figure out, and he can whittle it way down to like maybe 6 options when it seems like to the audience it could be anything. And so he's able to like statistically narrow it all down. And apparently he wrote a book on kind of like how to use these techniques to further your own life, like practice.
Really?
Yeah, like how to make sure if you want to raise in the next year, how to like basically make 50% more sure that you could do that just by doing like a few things.
I'd
or
be
whatever.
super interested in reading
Right?
that, bro.
Me too. Me too. And another super interesting stories that he told were because they were asking, they were like, okay, well, if it is true that you basically are truly relying on someone to pick a certain thing because you've written this beforehand, like the whole gig is he'll basically either write it before they say it or bring in something that he's written down beforehand.
Yeah, okay.
And based on his research on them and him basically guiding them to the answer that he wants, will be able to show that he like predicted something that was true.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
And so he did say, he did say that there are people that are very difficult to, they try to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
Just like the dude in the
I'm
podcast,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
And he said he loves that because he prepares so much for those types of things that he knows how to like think on his feet. But there was one time in a show where he was like doing a bit with a guy in the audience and was like 100% sure that he knew what this guy was thinking. Like, would have bet his life on it, would have bet the house on it. And the guy was like adamant. No, you didn't get it. Like, seriously, no. And so like he said, I, to this day, like, I don't know what happened because I was 100% sure that I had gotten to what he had said. But he said either people, like, in really rare times, people will have like, I mean, this is what he said. He said people will just, I don't know, the way he described it was like they'll just literally believe that they didn't think that thing or something like that. I don't know. I didn't really understand what he was saying about that, but he does get it right like a ton of times because that's his whole thing. Like, he wouldn't be where he's at if he doesn't do those types of things. So it must be pretty rare that someone like genuinely doesn't, I guess, like come to his conclusion or whatever, or he doesn't actually like read their minds or get to what they're saying. And then the other time was he was doing a like ESPN Sports Center type thing, and there was like an older coach that he was trying to have a part of the bit, and had him like give him a stopwatch, and was like, surely this football coach can work stopwatch. And he's like, can you work stopwatch? The coach was like, yeah, of course I can work stopwatch. And goes throughout his bit, and the coach like fat fingers the stopwatch and like clears it out when he was supposed to stop it. And it was like, he's like, that was like one of the other times that I genuinely did not know what to do, because he was just like, I was so upset because I was like, this has to go right for this to work. And like, so the dude like literally ruined the whole thing. Yeah. And so he had to like pivot real quick out of it to go to the next trick. And I don't know, that just apparently he said that like he has to prepare for all these different scenarios that could happen when he's doing a certain trick. And that to me just makes it like even more impressive, because that means like real time while he's keeping this pace of his speaking and thinking about these things. Like he's actively reading people. He's actively also like guiding someone to try to get them to think something. But also, if they don't think what he wants, then he has to like adjust in real time.
Yes. Gosh, that is so crazy.
He makes it look so easy.
Yeah. That is so much to mentally take in.
At one time.
Yeah. Especially in front of, like, for like a show, you know? That's crazy, dude.
Yes.
Gosh, that's so interesting, because a long time ago, I think I was in high school or something. My dad showed me this book. It was like it was some guy who worked in, I don't know if he was like a detective or something like that, but he was in like interrogation, and he wrote a book on how to read body language. And dude, it was fascinating. Like, it was really so interesting. Yeah. And like just all the little different things that you can pick up on somebody just from literally like paying attention to what they do with their hands, with their feet, like, or anything, with their eyes. I only read like half of it, but yeah, it was, I wish I would have read the whole thing, because it was so good. And I could see how much that can help you in so many different situations. Like, especially like even just in a regular conversation with someone, like you being able to pick up on their body language and whether or not they feel uncomfortable or like comfortable with you, that alone is like huge. Dude. And like so many different scenarios.
Yes. It just gives me so much more respect for entertainers and magicians and
or even comedians and how they can work a crowd.
Okay, so that's actually a good point. Like he was really praising comedians in the industry, because he basically talks about how he's worked his way up to, he wants to be so proficient like in his craft that he doesn't need props. Like he wants to be able to do like without setup props. He wants people to say, okay, what do you have on hand? Like,
Yeah.
you got a piece of bubble gum and a piece of paper. Okay, like he can do something with that, right? Because he said as a kid doing like you get the magic kits and like the magic kit is the trick. Like you have like a trick deck or you have a trick quarter or whatever. But he's like, I've gotten to the point where I can literally go anywhere with anything and I can do a show. He's like, I can do a full show with whatever. And he said that's the mark of basically like raw entertainment. He's like, that's why stand-up comedians are considered like one of the top
like performers or like
forms
entertainers
of entertainment.
Okay,
because he said it's literally you get up in front of everyone and you use their words and you're able to draw out a laugh. You're able to draw out entertainment because he said, his big thing is he sells amazement. Like he draws out, like he wants people to have an amazing, literally leave with amazement. That's what he wants them to. That's what he's selling as an entertainer. And it's just really cool to see like the way that he looks at his industry, his craft. He's 42, by the way, which is crazy.
No
he looks
way.
So young.
He does not look that old.
Yeah, he looks so young. But I thought that was really interesting too, because I feel like sometimes comedians aren't looked at that way by normal everyday life people.
No, yeah, I agree.
But as an entertainer, like it makes sense. He also said that he has because they were asking about hypnosis, because it was interesting. Like a lot of the questions they were asking, they almost thought that he could do like all this other stuff, or he knew all this other stuff. But there's a lot of times I noticed where he was like, I don't specialize in that. I don't do this card trick anymore. I don't do that anymore. I can't do it for you right now. Or I can't even like really explain the way that this works because I'm not a scientist. But he's like, I'm strictly like, I stay in this lane. I'm a specialist at this lane.
That's crazy, dude.
They said the only type of, he did say, I think his senior year of college or high school or something, he taught himself like a certain type of hypnosis to the point where like he trained himself to lucid dream, which is pretty crazy. But like he has friends that are full-time hypnosis. Like that's all they do.
Really?
Yeah. And so they'll have like, he said they'll have like people lined up from the crowd and they'll do like a different thing to each person as they hypnotize them. And he said one of the ones they did was they had a guy up there who was like really clean cut, really buttoned up shirt, khakis, corporate type guy. And they had him hypnotized to believe that he was pregnant. And so they would have like balloons, and they would put balloons up in his shirt, like on his stomach, and they would like have him rub his belly and like say like, see, like the baby's growing. And they would like switch out the balloons bigger and bigger to make him think that he was like growing, the baby was growing.
Yeah.
Right. And like they had him like lay on a table, and they were like basically having him deliver the baby. And they were like, push this baby out. And he like literally crapped himself.
No way, bro.
And Oz was like legitimately cracking up remembering it on the podcast. He was like losing it. He was like, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. He's like, still to this day, he's like, I think about it all the time and I crack up.
That's insane, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So the guy was like so mad at the hypnotist after the show.
Holy crap. How do they do that? I know like a lot of hypnotism is like susceptibility. Like you're making people susceptible to like what you want them to do.
Okay.
But how do you do that? How do you get people to that point where like they actually believe something's happening that's not? Like that's so crazy to me, dude.
If I knew, I would be doing shows in Vegas right now.
I mean, yeah.
But so he talks about that too. Basically, like performers will do suggestibility tests in the audience to see like before they pick someone.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
He said a lot of people will think that like, oh, it's someone who's planted. It's like not really. It's they'll like do a certain exercise with the crowd and be able to spot like, okay, who's able to be like, who's more suggestible than someone else.
Yeah.
And they'll pick someone who's more suggestible.
Yeah.
Which you know, I think it's interesting because I think a lot of times people, I'm not the type of person that looks at these things all the time and I'm like, oh, it's staged or oh, it's fake.
Yeah,
Like
right,
I
right.
really do think I'm like, dang, you know, they clearly like crafted. It seems like they really crafted this.
Yeah, like a trick.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
crafted this
yeah.
trick like really well, and I think that it's kind of almost cheap to like. I feel like people are so afraid to be. They're so afraid of like having the wool pulled over their eyes. They'll like go super hard in the other direction of like you're not gonna trick me.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really care about that. I'm
Yeah,
like,
me neither.
Dude, I
Like,
don't mind.
Give me a show, dude.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind at all. And so it was just really interesting to hear how he actually persuades.
Yeah. That is crazy. Yeah, I feel like I want to see the trick, but then I do like to understand like how they did it. Like, how'd you do it, dude?
Yes.
You know? Like, that to me is so fascinating. But dude, this makes I wonder like these tactics. It makes me think about like cults. And like I wonder how like if cult leaders are able to like pick up on these skills, maybe without them even knowing it. And that's how they like coerce people,
dude,
into, I mean, like whatever they want, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like into believing things that aren't true or
Dude.
whatever.
I wouldn't doubt
Yeah.
it. And I wouldn't doubt too that they do it like without knowing what they're doing.
Yes.
I don't think
Yeah.
that there's a lot of cult leaders that are like, oh, I'm gonna study this and oh, I've used doublethink
Yeah.
on you. You know,
Yeah.
but like I think
Yeah.
that some of them are just so
They're like a natural gift to pick up on like tendencies or
like a natural charismatic, naturally a
yes,
manipulator
yeah.
or you know, coercion or whatever.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and I think that's also paired with like the other sort of environmental things that come with it of like separating you from people that you love and that will speak truth in your life, right?
Well, that's a lot like singling out someone who is more susceptible
True.
or suggestive, right? Like
True.
and then like using, they probably have like really strong like persuasive skills as
Yes.
well. So
That's a good point.
it is. Gosh, dude, it's so interesting. I gotta. Did you watch the whole podcast?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta watch that one, dude.
I had it on 1.5 speed, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like out of all the, I don't know. I guess I haven't really watched a lot of podcasts with him, but I've seen a lot of his sort of like segments, I would say.
Mm.
And I feel like I enjoyed this one the most because it was like a combination of some of the coolest things I've seen him do, but also like being a bro and talking about like his story.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the best
Mm.
that I've seen. The Joe Rogan one just felt like really awkward to me at times.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, because I knew like Joe Rogan, they played along super well and like had fun with it. Versus I feel like Joe Rogan was like, oh, I like being tricked.
Yeah.
I don't like being tricked.
Yeah. I feel like Flagrant is good at that. Their podcast does that really well. Because I felt the same with even Wes Huff. Because I mean, Wes's podcast with Joe Rogan was like amazing.
Really, yeah.
But I think I liked the one he did with the Flagrant even more because just like you can tell like the setting, it's a little more like relaxed, and it is kind of like more like a bro setting.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
that is cool. Gosh, dude.
Didn't we went to a show, we went to like a magic show on the cruise?
Yes, bro. Yeah.
And Ryan was that the same one that Ryan went up there?
Yeah. Dude, that was a good time.
That was a good time.
That guy was freaking awesome too. That was by far the best show.
I'm trying to remember what he did. His whole spiel was like, his whole stick was kind of like it was like a bad magician type stick where he was
Yes.
kind of like pretending like he was bad or whatever, and then he would like do a random trick.
Yes.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, every time he would like do his trick, he would always pretend like it failed. And then be like, "Ah, gotcha." Yeah. He was like, "Oh, wait, what?" Yeah. Yeah, I remember him bringing Ryan up, and I can't remember exactly what he did, but he had Ryan. It was like a whole thing about a celebrity. Remember, he had Ryan choose like a celebrity named Chris or something, or was it or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what he did.
No, Tom, because he said
Tom. You're right. Yeah,
because he said Tom. Frick. Not Tom Holland. He said Tom.
It was one that like not most people would think of off the bat.
Because I think that he made a joke about like, why wouldn't you say Tom Cruise?
Yeah, or like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Or
Tom Selleck?
Yes, dude. That's what it was. Yeah.
He said Tom Selleck. There were people that came up to him afterwards and were like, dude, Tom Selleck. Like that was great. Dude, that was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
But I think that one really was. I think that particular trick was I think would be considered a mentalist trick.
Yeah, I think so.
Because
I don't
remember, honestly. I feel like I want to say that he had written it down and was like trying to guess what Ryan was thinking.
Yeah, but
what was I gonna say?
Yeah, gosh, how did he do it? I can't remember if it was like if he asked him to like yeah, it was something like, name the first celebrity named Tom that comes to your head or something like that. But I can't remember like how, like why it was based off celebrities or something like that. But yeah, that was hilarious, dude. And then right after that, we got Nathan we set up Nathan's photo with what's her name? Was it Yuki? Or
what a pull right there, dude. I was not gonna get that one.
Dude.
Yuki. Dang.
Dude, that was crazy.
I was surprised how old she was. She's like in her 30s.
Bro. Yeah. I thought she was like 21.
Okay,
maybe.
I would love to see like a documentary on the life of someone that works on a cruise ship, because I feel like it's a whole different world. Like I feel like all the performers and I guess like specifically the performers are typically people that grew up like basically only doing that thing.
Yeah.
Like they're either figure skating or high diving or I don't know, like
a chef or
whatever these other things are. And then they just end up like on these cruises for years.
Yeah, dude.
Like performing these shows. And I don't know, I just feel like it's like the most niched life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so interesting.
Like such a niche occupation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see like
I know, yeah. I remember because after the cruise, like we had all followed like a few of them, a few of the dancers and the figure skaters or whatever. But it seemed like they all. Like, I remember like seeing their stories. How it was like literally just like one cruise to the next, and with like the same people. Like you're with the same crew.
Okay, that's cool.
For however long. So that's kind of sick.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Especially if like you really get along with all of them. It would kind of suck if you have like a, not the best crew mates and you're stuck with them for however many months.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of like crazy stuff that goes on behind the scenes with like the cruise worker life. But who knows? But I will say that like I heard one of the comedians one time when we went on a cruise and we saw a comedian show. He said this joke has like stuck with me. He said, isn't it funny that like a lot of the people that you see working are happier than the people on the cruise? And I was like, holy crap. I've never thought of that. Like, genuinely, that is so true.
It is. Yeah.
The people that are like your servers, cleaning the rooms or whatever, like they have the best attitude.
They really do.
The
They-
best attitude.
I think the comedian comedian said something about like kind of played on that too when
Okay.
we were there.
Yeah.
Because he was saying like, you know, he was just making jokes about
Yeah.
like people's rooms being atrocious and you know, whatever the case, that your server's gonna like, you know, knock on the door with a smile or
Yeah.
whatever. Like nothing is gonna give him like a bad attitude.
Yes.
You know?
I do think that the best comedian show that I've seen in a cruise was in like a super small room. That like the ones that I've seen at the auditorium are like they have never been as good as like this one comedian that did a show in like maybe a room that like double this size.
Interesting.
And because it just was like so much, I laughed so hard.
Really?
Yes. And you know, obviously it depends on the comedian, but
Yeah.
there was two of them. Like there was two comedians, and one of them specifically just did crowd work so well. And I wonder if it's easier to do. Like, you ever seen the shorts? Like people at like comedy clubs, and it's like super.
Yeah.
It's like much smaller than.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's exactly how
Just
it
like
felt.
a small little venue.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly how it felt in that cruise room. I wonder if that has anything to do with it, because I know that doing it in an auditorium, you have to kind of change how you deliver and communicate
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
in a smaller room. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure it makes a difference because I mean, and it probably feels more like, I don't know if like personable is the right word, but like you're right there.
It is, yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's more personal for sure.
Yeah. But that is interesting because the one that we went to on our cruise, it was like, to me, it was like, all right.
Yeah, it wasn't too good. It wasn't like anything to write home about.
Yeah, and that was a really big crowd. I mean, there's a ton of people there.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I know Joe Rogan has talked about, though, how his favorite setting to do like a show, like a comedy show, is in a circular arena where like
Really?
he's in the middle and like everyone's around him. Yeah, which I thought that was super interesting.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Did he say why?
I think he said just because of how much like he engages with the audience, I guess, and how it's like, I mean, to me, it just sounds like it's much more interactive, like because you almost have to like turn with the crowd and like speak to and like engage with everyone around you and like you're front and I don't know. I mean, I'd have to hear him explain it again, but that's what it sounded like.
Interesting.
But it was interesting because I never heard that from anyone else. But
I always forget that Joe Rogan
does
does
comedy
comedy.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's kind of a weird thing because I feel like I see people kind of like hate on his comedy a lot.
Me too.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I feel like he's done, especially with. I feel like he's done more for the comedy world than
Probably anybody. Yeah.
Like the way that he brings all of his comedy friends on and gives them free exposure, and then freaking built the Comedy Mothership.
Yeah.
And like I've heard a lot of comedians say that the Comedy Mothership is like the perfect venue.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
built obviously by a comedian, but
Yeah.
there's like so many little things that they say that it does that makes it
Like the best
amazing
ever.
environment,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
It's so sick.
Yeah. And I heard Joe Rogan recently did a Netflix special.
He did. And I heard that did really well.
But okay, he did it live,
yeah. Yeah.
which is like super rare
What do you mean?
because basically
Oh, you're saying like it was like you could watch it live on Netflix.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
Like the way that they
okay.
described it, because the clip that I was watching about it, most comedians are like super afraid to do that because they normally will tape the show like probably 3 times, and then they will edit together the best parts of each one.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so he had to do it all in one take.
Yeah.
And I think it was actually live streamed.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Maybe. Something about it was live. Like something
Yeah.
about it was like they can't go back and edit at all.
Yeah.
Which
Oh, I remember him talking about it. Like he was like, I didn't want to do it.
yeah.
And then that was like, because he didn't want to do it, it's like what made him do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was good.
I don't know. I feel like to me it's so weird listening to him do his comedy after listening to the podcast. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with like anyone else, like Nate Bargatze or Tom Segura or anyone else that I've listened to on a podcast, listening to their comedy. But for whatever reason, it just weirds me out to.
Yeah, I kind of. Well, yeah,
It's just
because like
odd.
it's like Joe Rogan has these. It's like he's the podcaster, the UFC.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's in the
Whatever you call it,
commentator.
yeah. And then like a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
There's like three completely different things, you know.
It truly is the most freaking
And to be like extremely successful in
each one.
all 3 roles is crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's a shotgun spread of career
Yeah,
choices.
yeah.
I want to talk to you. Not now, later. No, now.